1-1 game. Do you think that ended up being kind of a fair result for how the game played?
Yeah, we've just been talking about it in there, the staff. When you score first, you always feel as though you should be taking all 3 points. I honestly felt there were some very good moments for us to extend our lead, and if we'd have been able to do that, I think that might have been enough. However, when you look back on the balance of opportunities at both ends, a draw was probably a fair result. And against a very bright and positive New York side, I've seen lots of teams come here and get picked apart. I think it's a good result, and there are some qualities within that result that will serve us well as we move into this next 4 games that are away from home out of the next 5.
Very different game than the first 2 games of the year, especially in terms of possession. You dominated those 2. This one, it was almost, I think, 60-40 in their favor. Was that a game plan? Was that the opposition? What kind of went into that difference?
To be perfectly honest, the last 2 games at home, you expect to maybe be the more dominating team with the ball. But we didn't actually get the balance right. And part of our process of getting the best out of the group that we've got is to try and make sure at the most opportune times and as constructively as possible, we're being positive. We're getting in better areas, we're creating more chances. And today, against a side that we're always going to squeeze high, they leave the space in behind them rather than in front of them. They take chances with their back line to try and win the ball in good areas. I thought we made some good choices, and we actually had some very, very encouraging situations because of that, and really should have extended our lead. The only disappointment is we didn't, and we gave them the opportunity to get back in the game.
You mentioned kind of those balls over the top. The goal from Daniel was kind of an example of that. Obviously, it involved some poor play from the defender and the keeper as well. But what did you see as that play unfolded? And is that kind of the type of goal you guys were looking for today as you came in?
Well, the discussion was when they squeeze into those halfway line areas and try and condense play, can we get Daniel, Carlton, can we get the forwards on shoulders and be threatening in behind those defenders, working the ball into constructive positions rather than, smashing it 75, 80 yards from back to front? Is there some cultured build out which might only take 2 or 3 passes? You're not going to keep the ball on this field against a team in the fashion that they play for long periods of the game. They won't allow you to. So we needed to be ready and able to threaten their back line, to force their back line backwards, to get up the field, and in the process of that, try and make some chances, and of course that opportunity came out of that.
Pretty different lineup, at least in a couple of positions. Connor played the game, Justin started the game, which he hadn't yet. What was behind that? Was it just kind of time to shake things up a little bit, or was it something that those guys did to kind of force their way into the lineup? Vinny too.
Yeah, we've got a very strong squad, as you well know. The guys that started today have had good pre-seasons. They're in a good place physically. There were 1 or 2 aspects of the game last weekend that we could certainly improve on, and we're away from home. We've changed up 1 or 2 areas and a slightly different, maybe picture to how we played, with La Grassa in the middle with 2 other genuine midfield players, because I honestly felt that there'd be a lot of central field play, regains, second phase, and a lot of work going on in there. To a degree, it helped. But ultimately we've got a lot of good players, and it's going to be occasions where I need to rotate that. And other than Vinny's injury, which is really disappointing, I felt the guys that came in did a very, very good job. And, I expect the guys that haven't seen the field yet, in the next couple of weeks, because we've got a weekend off now, in the next couple of weeks, we may well see a couple of other faces as well.
You mentioned Vinny's injury. Daniel also came off shortly after getting hurt. It looked like he was able to go on before you subbed him off, though. What is the prognosis of those guys? I know it has just happened, so you might not have official medical diagnosis or anything. But are you expecting them to be
Daniel's fine. It just took a little bit of a battering against 2 very capable centre-backs. Vinny's looks slightly more concerning, although we'll get a read on that, I'm sure, middle part of this week. But he's turned his ankle. To what degree, I don't know at this point.
What did you see on the goal that the Red Bulls scored? It was obviously not directly from a set piece, but it was kind of that second phase ball that you talk about a lot. And both goals have been set piece goals scored against you so far this year. What did you see on that one, and what can you do to prevent those from happening?
I was just disappointed. There was an opportunity to be a little bit more decisive. The ball was given away in the middle third. I think Justin tried to pick out someone with a header, and that was the prelude to what happened next. It ended up going out for, I believe, a corner, and then there was that pressure, and it was recycled. But it came from a style of play that they have that has been very rewarding for Red Bull. And for the most part, we did an excellent job of negating that, of dealing with some very creative and exciting young players. They have a terrific setup here and a great, feed through to their first team. But it's just disappointing that, look, unless we'd have won the game, I'd have been disappointed, which I am now. To concede from really a second phase again is even more disappointing. But let's talk about the positives. There were a lot of good things going on. I feel as though we're moving in a nice direction. The guys, maybe like Cameron and Daniel are seeing a bit more time. We're starting to find a little bit more of a rhythm, and we've got a tough schedule coming up, but I think we're in a good place.
With a little bit of time to prepare for the next game, is that going to be your main area of focus for improvement? Is kind of that set piece second phase ball, or are there other things that you want to work on before that Ottawa game?
Yeah, look, I think the stats are somewhere around 40% of goals last year were scored from dead balls, so that's a lot of goals in the league. We certainly need to be efficient in our 18-yard box, and wherever possible, and there were some good moments today, we've got to try and snatch one or two at the other end, and I thought the delivery was much better today. We didn't get maybe what we wanted out of it, but again, I think 3 games in, we all want to win every game, but the important factor for me is that I'm seeing encouraging signs in each player and in the way that we're playing, and of course in the direction we're going, and I'm seeing that.
Did you think Matt had found a winner when he hit the post there towards the end of the game?
Yeah, there were a couple of moments we really should have made more of. And look, everyone that played this weekend, I'm sure, will be saying we should have done more. We had moments. We should have converted. When you don't, the game continues and gives them an opportunity to stay positive. At 2-0, it might have been a little bit of a blow for them, and certainly a long way back then, given the way we were playing. Top sides, as you move along and you're going to want to be competing for playoffs and silverware, you've got to make the most of those moments. And I'm sure we will as we move down the line. Today, not to be.
Daniel mentioned something kind of about a killer instinct when you have that 1-0 lead. Is that something you guys are still developing, working on?
Yeah, look, all teams, when they create chances and get themselves in good positions and give themselves opportunities to see a game off, all teams want to try and convert, and nobody doesn't want to convert. I think it's who does it fall to? Can they stay composed? What's the type of finish? Can you pick a spot? Are you getting hurried and just, randomly lashing at the ball and hoping for the best? The top goal scorers and the top individuals are really keeping a clear mind, and that's what makes them difference makers. You look at Daniel's goal, it'd been easy for Daniel to have, hurried and rushed the moment. He didn't. It looked at one point that the goalkeeper might have done enough, and he rounded him and still kept his foot in and finished well. Daniel's pedigree tells us that he's capable of doing that. We need to find a way to make sure that our top finishers, goal scorers and creators are getting in better areas, and today we've seen that.